If you plan to scale, you have to let go of the little things that eat up a lot of your time.
100%.
Founders, CFOs, and other leaders need to stop thinking about how to
Invoicing.
save every little penny
Emails.
and focus more on the bigger picture. So frequently, you hear people talk about
You could
growth.
scale that. I just need to drop vending machines all over the place with meat in it.
And we talk about it so recklessly that some people don't understand that there's a differentiation between just growing and scaling your business. So today, we want to talk to you about growth versus scaling, more so with the focus on scaling. What's the difference and how it's changed our respective businesses? So, Chief, in this episode, we're going to give you, people in commerce and chill land, some ideas on how you can think about growth differently if you're really trying to scale. This is a very interesting season for both of our businesses because it seemed like for a while we were just working, plugging along with our heads down, getting stuff done. And then all of a sudden somebody flipped the switch and the floodgates opened in a positive way. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, but when you say that, you're talking about on the growth side or you talking about on the scale side?
With scale.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, because it's different. It's different. So, but yeah, we've experienced both growth as well as scaling.
So what would you say the biggest difference between just growing and actually scaling a business is?
Yeah, so we kind of talked about before, and I think I wrote a post on LinkedIn about it too, because it was
which prompted today's episode.
Yeah, it was just like this, especially when we were down at the conference, and people say it like, they're like, "Oh, Waleed, what is something you think I should do to grow my laundry business?" And it's important. Like I want the business to grow. I want everybody else's business to grow. But we use the term, first of all, there's power in words. So when we use the last previous episode, I can't remember which one, they all become a blur to me now, sorry. But we talked about the word small business. Like I will refuse to call any of our businesses small business anymore. I don't care if it's still an idea in a book that I haven't launched yet, or it's just a web domain or whatever. It's not a small business. It's a business, right? And the business will be at different stages as it progresses, as it grow. So the word was thrown around a lot. Like, what can I do to grow my laundromat? Or what can I do to grow my pickup and delivery business? So I like to take a step back. Now, back in the day, you'd be like, oh, I want to grow the business. I'll be like, okay, let's do marketing. Let's do this. Or, what about, are your drivers doing this? Or the attendants doing this? Customer service agents doing X, Y, and Z. Now, I really want to be specific in what we say and what we do. So if you're saying you want the business to grow, so I'm like, how you want it to grow? And do you want it to grow or do you want it to scale? And that's like the big question I ask myself and ask others when we get in these conversations. Are we talking about growing the business or are we talking about scaling it? So I forgot what your question was.
What do you see the biggest difference between just growing and scaling?
It's expenses. Like
That's the biggest difference, our expenses?
One of the biggest difference when I look at it, it's expenses, because when we grew the business, it's like this linear relationship between revenue and expenses. We're growing it tremendously, but we look at the top line revenue because we're like, oh, it's growing. Look, we're doing more business. But what's going on between the top line and the bottom line? What's going on between it? So if I'm growing the revenue, but my expenses are growing at a very similar pace, then my profit is not growing. If you follow me.
I think I understand what you're trying to say, but I don't think it came out the way that you were thinking. So let me put a different spin on it.
I'm mentally tired. Basically like this. If we could draw a chart here, and somebody will do some graphics in this video, I'm sure it will happen. If there's a line graph,
a linear
right
relationship.
Here's your revenue growing, but your expenses are growing at the same rate as so the difference between the two doesn't change. So it stays the same as it grows. So I'm getting more revenue, but my expenses are going up.
So that's a standard growth model,
right?
Where there's a linear relationship between your expenses and your revenue.
They track each other.
So as your revenues grow, your expenses grow, and the difference doesn't change. The difference with scaling is that there's an exponential impact to what you do. So wherein your expenses might go up on a linear basis, your revenues are going up exponentially. So you're getting more bang for the buck for the amount of resources, the time, the people, the money that you use when you are scaling, as opposed to just standard growth. So let me take it to the...
I said that, expenses. But go ahead, you take it.
No,
I'm just messing around. Go ahead.
Let me take us to the dictionary just to make it a little bit easier. The definition of growth, and there are a couple that I like. Number one, a stage in the process of growing with respect to size. Number two is full growth, the process of growing, progressive development or evolution, increase, expansion. Or lastly, a producing, especially by growing fruits, of his own growth. So basically what you're putting in is resulting in more coming out. Now the definition of scale is to climb up or reach by means of a ladder. Yeah, no, that's not quite what we meant, but to reach the highest point of, or to surmount, to scale a mountain. So if you're thinking about your goals, how do you get to the top of your goals as opposed to just taking minuscule steps there? Another definition of scale I like is to pattern, make, regulate, set, or estimate according to a sum, rate, or standard to adjust. And I think that speaks to, once you get in a rhythm, once you have a system of growth and you do take those steps consistently, that will put you in a position to scale. So in other words, scaling is like multi-pronged growth. Lastly, a production schedule scaled to actual need, often used to back down or up scale, as used in scale down imports, or to arrange in a graduated series. So think about a flight of stairs, right? You want to get to the top of the set of stairs, but you have to do it gradually. So scaling will help you do that. So why are you making that face at me?
I don't know. You read a bunch of definitions and I'm just like, okay.
All right. So let's begin with the most common distinction between these two terms. In general, we think of growth in linear terms. A company adds new resources, capital, people, or technology, and its revenue increases as a result. By contrast, scaling is when revenue increases without a substantial increase in resources. Processes that scale are those that can be done en masse without extra effort. If I send an email to 10 people or 1 million people, my effort is essentially the same. So while a chief is busy doing it, what was that thing? Picture pages? You're like doing picture pages? I date myself. Picture pages, picture pages. Now it's time for picture pages. Time to get your crayons and your pencils. We're gonna talk about.
I have no idea what
you never saw that on PBS?
Nope, not
I think
that
it was
old.
like
Can't relate. So to me, growth, right? So simple. Growth. This top line is your revenue. This bottom line is your expenses. There's a direct relationship between the two. The gap kind of stays the same between the two. Everybody follow? This one's going to mess your head up because this page has got lines on it, but sorry. Same idea. But here, the top line again is revenue. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The bottom line is my expenses. This is my business, scaling. This is what I prefer. This here, it's nice. You're growing, but guess what? You're bringing in more money. But are you making more money?
So let's talk to the people and explain how they get from here to here. From here.
Well, I don't know. I can't tell them how to get from there to there.
I'm going to give them some examples.
I don't know what's going on in their business or the type of business they have. They're all unique.
We are about to share 5 ways to scale your business. That's 5 ways to scale your business. You ready? Number 1.
No, I guess you are.
Invest in company culture. Number 2, fire yourself from the little things.
Somebody fire me today because I need a break. Please.
Number 3.
Where's my pink slip?
Focus on your core strengths.
Write me a pink slip. Fire me now.
Number 4, invest in process management. And number 5, create scalable processes. So in the next few minutes, we're going to walk you through each of those steps.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, go.
So invest in company culture.
I probably would have 5 more that would not be on the proper business list, but go ahead. Number 1, invest in company culture. That's going to make my thing scale.
Your thing?
Yeah, my thing, the soapbox. How was going to make my thing scale?
Okay.
Company culture. Like, yeah, we're going bowling. Like, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
So what many companies realize that as they're scaling business, they need to bring in new talent. And the new talent may not have the same understanding of the company's goals, may not have the same value system, may not have the same expectations as people who are more tenured with the firm. And so it's great to have this new talent, but how do you consistently pour into new team members what the company culture is?
Is that really something that's going to help me scale, or is that just something to keep investing in the company culture to keep it morale up and to keep it a good workplace as we scale? But is something that's gonna help me scale the business?
Well, what do you think?
Grow?
You just hired not your thing.
The soapbox. I'm talking about the soapbox.
You just hired several new people at the soapbox. Do you think it's important that they understand the company culture? Yeah,
but when I think of scaling, I wouldn't say the company culture. I think company culture is important, but I'm not going to say that's the thing that's going to make me scale a business. When someone says to me, "How do I scale my business?" I'm thinking black and white. What's the things I need to do? What are the steps I need to take? What are the strategy? What are the plan I need to implement so I could go from A to S? Like, how do I scale?
All right, so let me break it down for you.
Okay, break it down.
When you are scaling, sometimes core values can get lost.
I agree.
Or muddled.
That's what I was saying earlier. I agree with that.
So let me finish.
But the statement earlier was,
can I finish?
We're going to give you 5 steps to scale.
Yeah, can I finish?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So when you renew your dedication to those values, you'll attract the best talent. It'll help you attain the best technology for analyzing and managing your financial data and clearly define how to continue to scale. Because what happens is many leaders like ourselves will get so caught up in scaling that we don't spend an adequate amount of time monitoring what's happening with our company cultures. And so we end up not having as cohesive a company culture as we need to successfully scale. And so you have to be, I encourage you to be, and hopefully Mr. Cope will get on the same page, to be extremely intentional about keeping your finger on the pulse of your company culture and looking at and reevaluating your values to make sure that the values as you scale continue to represent the business that you have.
Got it. Company culture.
Number 2, fire yourself from the little things. Fire yourself from the little things.
That's something you could tell somebody to do for the business to scale. Okay, go.
So
you got me on number 2. Her number 2 is my number 1. Go.
If you plan to scale, you have to let go of the little things that eat up a lot of your time.
100%.
Founders, CFOs, and other leaders need to stop thinking about how to save every little penny.
Emails.
And focus more on the bigger picture. I'll give you an example. I was talking to my girlfriend, LT. We go way back to freshman year in college. And we've been going down this. Recently, we both participated in a prayer journey, a 40-day prayer journey. And so LT texted me this morning, and she was just like, I'm depressed because I'm not getting the results that I need to get.
Then she needs to start praying all over again.
I've been spending so much time doing so many things that I can't focus on the big things that I need to get done. So I sent her an encouraging message back, and it reminds me that sometimes...
Were there 5 steps in the message for her to execute?
There were like 2 steps in the message.
Okay, I'll take that.
And an encouraging praise and worship song. But we cannot, as leaders of our respective businesses, regardless of how large your business is, we can't be so focused on the minutia of task that we don't recognize the gravity of the big picture, right? So sometimes
if you in the picture,
what happened?
If you in the frame, you can't see the picture.
I think I heard that this morning. You heard that?
I'm just saying,
if you're in the frame,
you can't see the picture.
You can't see the picture. Right. So
is that what you told her in the 2 steps?
No.
Pray harder and get out the frame because you can't see the picture.
No. So just remember not to get caught up in the little things. Don't be so busy looking for the pennies on the ground that you don't see the $100 bills. Right.
My number 1, fire yourself.
There's value in allowing other people to take care of the things that drain you of your time, energy, and
Get
resources
someone.
is worth the
Waleed
investment.
and Jessica, I can't afford somebody. Fiverr, Upwork, TaskRabbit,
Right.
virtual assistant. There's tons of places where you can hire people to do these little things that are consuming so much of your time. How many emails or phone calls are you answering?
How many emails or phone calls are you missing because
Right.
you're
How many are
answering
you
little
missing
things?
because you're doing something else that will really lead? Why is my mic so loose? That would lead to income or to sales leads. Like, how much of the stuff are you doing? And you're like, well, if I don't do it, this, that, and third. Lies. You're lying to yourself. Trust me. Been there, done it. You're like, oh, I have to do this. Or if I don't do this, no, you don't. Somebody else can do it just as good as you. Check your ego at the door. You're not the best at what you do. You think you are, but you're not.
And if you think we're
It's
running
fact.
game,
Trust me.
I encourage you to spend one day and then
How many
just-
burgers did Ray Kroc make? Anybody. I challenge you, anybody out there, Google it and tell me how many hamburgers did Ray Kroc make when he took over McDonald's and he was expanding the franchise. How many burgers did he make?
He didn't make burgers, he made deals.
Exactly. I
Don't
bet you he
make
probably didn't
burgers,
even know how to cook a
just
burger.
Make deals. Don't make burgers. Just
What
make
are you running
deals.
for office? I'm gonna get you a button that says that. I bet you think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, let's really think about this and drill down. We're talking about being in business, building a business, running businesses. This like McDonald's, you go there. I don't know. The sign says served
Over 2 billion served.
over 2 billion served. Probably it's probably more than that by now.
Yeah.
But whatever, 2 billion served, and the person that's credited for the explosive growth and scaling of the franchise of the business didn't make burgers.
I mean, if he had to, he did, but that wasn't where he posted.
No, trust me. Like, I'm on the bet. I don't know the whole story, but I'm like, I bet you he didn't make too many burgers, if any at all.
So real talk.
So that's scaling.
Real talk. I encourage you to spend a minimum of 1 day, a maximum of 5 days, and track how you spend your time. At the end of that period, look and see if the places that you're spending the most time, the activities that you're spending the most time on, if those are the things that are really going to build your business, or those are things that just keep you busy. If that's the case, I encourage you to reevaluate how you spend your time and to release some of those tasks and activities to someone else, whether it's your child, whether it's your spouse, whether it's somebody on Fiverr or one of the other resources.
It's probably somebody in your firm right now that you could hand off half the
But
stuff.
they might be a solopreneur.
Well, like Upwork, Fiverr, virtual assistant. I don't know. It's plenty of sites out there.
Or you might have somebody that wants to help you, like a neighbor or former employee.
There are people, and listen, here's the other piece. I bet you there are team members, those of you who have employees, team members, co-workers, staff, whatever term you want to use. I'm willing to bet if you went and you talked to them or you polled them or you sent the email, I bet you have a group of team members who want to do more and you're just not giving it to them because you think you're the only one that can do it. You're stuck in a routine. Get out the frame so you could see the picture.
That leads to number 3, which is focus on your strengths. Focus on your strengths. I understand better than almost anyone that the temptation is to do everything, but you can't do everything well. What happens is that leads to you being sucked of your energy, you being sucked of your time, you being sucked of your energy, of your motivation and your resources. So as my Salesforce coach, Chris, suggested to me earlier this year, focus and simplify. Focus on your core strengths, right? It's tempting to believe that diversification will be the catalyst that you need to scale.
Focus, man.
Wrong.
Focus.
Dead wrong.
Wait, what are
Dead
we on
wrong.
number 3?
We're on number 3, right there. Diversification, when it comes to your running your business, is really code word for distraction. That's right, distraction. It takes away from your traction. If you're going to get to the top of those stairs, you need as much traction as possible. So focus. What is it that you do well? What is it that you do better than anyone else that makes your business worth doing business with? But if you hear, but if a business is growing through an ad hoc series of actions and decisions, those start to fall apart as you grow larger.
What are you talking about? What was that you just said? What ad hoc? What is this?
If a business is growing through an ad hoc series of actions and decisions, those start to fall apart as you grow larger. That is,
what the fuck does that mean? Like, what?
Can
somebody translate that into regular business owner talk?
What that means is, if I, as the business leader, am trying to do too many things, then I can't be good at any of those things, and then that will lead to gaps in how the overall business does. So I need to focus on what I could do best, and he needs to focus on what he can do
Clearly,
best.
this is an ad hoc series.
Look,
so can you put it in simple English? It just means, listen, stop jumping around and just doing random stuff in your business.
And inconsistency
will
become chaos.
If you got a cash
like
register,
this episode
hire
right
somebody to run the cash register. Don't jump from the cash register to go doing the books, to doing inventory, to doing sending out invoices, to answering the phone. Like, yeah, whatever she said. Yeah.
And then wait, hold on. And then I'll add, if you have...
Are you ad hocing right now?
No, I'm not ad hocing, but I'm adding. If you have employees and your employees are working from their own playbooks, then that is not a winning proposition.
You need to dead that.
Because that will mean...
Because everybody's doing their own thing.
You will not have a consistent product or service, and your customers will not have a consistent
You need to shut that down immediately. We talked about this in other episodes. You need to document everything, and you need to put it in front of everybody and say, listen, this is how we answer the phone. There's one way we answer the phone, so no matter who calls, no matter who answers, they all get the same experience. One person can't answer the phones at your business and be like, hello, my name is Joe. Thank you for calling Coffee Box. Right? The next person answers the phone is like, hey, what up? This is the Coffee Box.
What you got brewing?
Jim speaking. What can I brew for you? Like, people are going to be mad confused. It's got to be one way all the time. And like, if you got a food business or a service business or whatever it is, then your team members start doing things a different way. So now the burger tastes one way when Lau make it. It tastes another way when I make it. It tastes another way when Hamlin make it, because Hamlin be like, oh, I want to put my own special little salt pepper mixture on it. And then Lau's putting Old Bay on it, and I'm just using salt like it says in ingredients. And then people come and be like, one day it tastes this way, and one day it tastes that way. Like, it's got to be consistency.
The big takeaway is achieving scale in your business requires a level of repeatable and predictable systems. Refining and developing those systems is how companies are able to go from thousands of customers to millions. So focus on your core strengths.
Billion served. So what's your next point?
Number 4, invest in process management.
Okay. You need process. You need management. I'm going to agree with that.
About that. Similar to outsourcing, process management requires you to leave the little things to others. The important factors here are to make sure that processes, as Cope said, are documented and that others can pick them up without having to be shown step by step.
I got an assistant right now working. They done booked 5 interviews since we've been sitting here.
We had a situation just yesterday.
There's another one. 6.
Just yesterday where...
I used to do that. Now I got somebody paying them who sits somewhere virtually and sits on the phone for 4 hours straight and books interviews, appointments for us. That's scaling. Think about it. How many phone calls could I make a day if I was still sitting here? I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay.
But this is like so prevalent to what we're talking about. Right. But you were going number 5.
I was going to say something, but I'll just leave it at, some of you may not know, I studied engineering in college. So I'm like...
How'd that work out?
I got a degree. And for all intents and purposes, priceless. I am an engineer.
You are an engineer. You're just not a practicing engineer. I'm not.
Well, I practice. I just don't practice for an engineering company.
You don't build things like different type of engineer. I build business. You build business.
I'm an industrial engineer. I'm building the industry right here every day. Trust and believe, as evidenced by all these gray hairs. But my bestie Keisha, her specialty in engineering is process.
Keisha, I'm so happy you changed your LinkedIn photo. I'm so proud of you. Because that photo you had before, you kind of look like my aunt.
Did you really just say that?
She knows it. It's all love. Keisha know I got mad. She cracking up right now. I don't even think she watched Commerce and Chill. Keisha, are you a subscriber? Because if you aren't, then we'll have 301. Can you please subscribe, Keisha? I would greatly appreciate
And I want to give a shout out to Father Jackson. Father Jackson is the former vicar at St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, which is the family church
this story
where
is so funny.
where my high school bestie Michelle grew up. And so St. Andrew's is like an adjunct family church for us as well. And so Michelle was telling someone at our recent class reunion, our high school class reunion, she was like, oh yeah, I heard about Commerce and Chill, your podcast from Father Jackson. We're like,
I was like, what?
She's like, nah, for real. Well, she didn't say nah, for real. She's like, Father Jackson says it's really good. And he watches it all the time.
So, Father Jackson, thank you. Thank you so much. I was blown away when Michelle was like, yeah, Father Jackson. I was like,
Father Jackson is a real good people. He's been good people.
She was
for
like,
a
he said
long
it's
time.
really good.
He said it's really good.
I was just like, oh.
Maybe we're going to have to have Father Jackson on.
Does he know
day
this is rated
talk about processes.
explicit? So now I'm like scared of what I got to say. Sorry, Father Jackson. I cursed in a couple episodes. Please forgive me.
He probably heard it.
Don't go too far back in the episode library, please.
Nonetheless, let's go back to Keisha. So Keisha's specialty is process improvement. So she actually works for a large financial services firm and looks at their processes to figure out ways to make them better, make them more succinct, so that the bank will get more.
They can scale.
They can scale. They have better results, more consistent results. And so if you may not be Keisha Slaughter, you may not be an engineer, you may not specialize in process improvement, but what processes can you manage for your business, be it an emerging business or be it an established business, right? Since we're not using
anything. That's
small
right.
businesses.
Don't you say small, I'm coming after you.
Right. But there are processes that you in your team use. How can you make those better? And if you don't have the time nor the skill set to improve your processes, then how do you outsource that? How do you get help?
Business.
How do
That's
you
what I'm
go
using
to
instead
a
of
small business
from now on.
development center? How do you leverage free resources that are out there to get your processes in line? And then number 5 is, once you have your processes managed, create scalable processes.
I was gonna say you already talked about processes,
but scalable processes, right?
It's repeatable. Listen, it's like cake mix.
Mm-hmm.
You go in the store, you buy cookie or cake mix, you just add water, stir, right? Or you get the one you got to add an egg. You just add the water, you add an egg, you stir it, you put it in the oven. Boom. It's like 6 steps. That's it. You got to create a system that's just repeatable. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
If you're cooking 2 boxes of cake instead of 1, then you know how to scale that. If it says add 1 cup of water for 1 box, you add 2. If it says add 1 egg, you add 2.
Or you just make an assembly line where somebody's standing in the beginning and they pour the mixture in the bowl, and then the bowl goes down the assembly line. The next person cracks eggs into the bowl. Then the next person pours the water. The next person mixes it, and the next one dumps it in the cake mold and then slides it in the oven. And then you scale, and you're making cake after cake after cake, and then you're making cake. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Today's episode has been all about how to scale your business. Please take a moment and click down below and make a donation to the Commerce and Chill Scaling Fund, because we will have more lessons for you to learn how to scale your business over time. But without your donations, we can't grow.
We're not taking your
No, I'm just kidding.
So as we wrap up this episode, I wanted to leave you with 2 quotes on scaling. The first is, scaling is only difficult when you grow your organization like a tower instead of a city. That is, if you're trying to go straight up instead of building a strong foundation, it ain't going to happen. And that comes from Jürgen Appello. Why are you laughing?
Nothing.
The second quote comes from Apple's Tim Cook. You can focus on things that are barriers, or you can focus on scaling the wall or redefining the problem. We as entrepreneurs are problem solvers. And so as we scale our businesses, think of it as scaling the wall or redefining the problems or challenges in front of you. Once you do that through having the right company culture, firing yourself from the little things, managing your processes, creating scalable processes, you'll see that the wall becomes much shorter. the problem becomes more manageable, and your growth will not be linear. It will be exponential. And we look forward to your sharing stories with us of how you are successfully scaling your business, whether it's through a product, whether it's through an opportunity, whether it's through a set of clients or an industry focus. Let us know how you're winning so that we can share it with the other people in Commerce and Chill Land. And we're going to continue to tell you how we win, and when we don't win, how we learn, because that's what we do here at Commerce and Chill. Any closing thoughts, Chief?
No, I think you nailed it.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Commerce and Chill. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure that you hit us up in the DM, press like, subscribe, and send a message to Father Jackson.
Yeah, what's Father Jackson? Thanks. How do we scale this podcast? That's my point.
All right. Well, that's the challenge. Hopefully we can
get
come up with
AI,
by next week.
Some VR.
Send us your comments on how we can scale Commerce and Chill. We're listening. Can't wait to hear.
That might be reckless in the comments, but I'll be waiting.
All right. I'm Jessica Johnson Cope.
Waleed.
We'll see you soon.